Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Welcome back to Big Mouth, and you can keep this or any other conversation I ignite going with me over on my Twitter at Movies TV Mad, my Vero at Big Mouth One, and the extension of this channel. Let's accept that there will be the odd video on it. Will be my Instagram, Big Mouth. So welcome to my Crisis on Infinite Earths, Episode 1 reaction. Wow. I'll be honest with you guys and girls. I stepped away from Arrowverse, maybe season 4, those kind of seasons for the shows. I loved Arrow season 1 and 2, as I did the Flash season 1 and 2. Young Arrowverse was really good, but I kind of got put off by the anti-male agenda and the identity politics. I'll be honest, right? I think identity politics and I think representation could be a good thing, but I think when it takes a bigger precedent than telling a good story and fleshing out and developing characters, it's a problem. But I love this. And you know what's great? Because I haven't watched any of the shows this season, you didn't have to. I mean, basically, it's all over the bloody internet what's been going on in the past 3 or 4 years in the Arrowverse. So I was worried. Look, if you're a DC fan, you're going to watch Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's one of the greatest comic book stories of all time. I think that's why Captain America Civil War did so good, because Civil War is a massive arc in Marvel Comics as well. And it's the same thing with Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's massive, but we know they are kind of imprisoned by a TV budget. And as a producer, when you're Mark Guggenheim and when you're Greg Berlanti, you have a plan to create these multitude of superhero shows and make them a franchise and create this connectivity. Now the MCU started in 2008 with Iron Man, and I think 2012 was Arrow's first season. So basically, I think Arrow pretty much started the same year that the first Avengers movie was released. So that's interesting to me. I think that Berlanti and Guggenheim and the rest of the team should be congratulated because they've created something amazing. It is an interconnected universe. So let's talk about episode 1. I have to say I was very impressed with the interconnectivity of all the different Earths. We saw Burt Wood, the original Robin from the 1960s Batman series. That was amazing. We had Earth 89. That's the Tim Burton Batman verse. I thought they were actually going to show us Michael Keaton, but they didn't. And we saw the Robin, didn't we? We saw, or whatever they call him. It is Robin, isn't it, from Titans? So we had him. Split Second as well. Look, there's so many Easter eggs. I made a mistake. I didn't write any of them down. But there's so many Easter eggs. You're not even going to remember them, even if you do write them down. So that was fabulous. But basically, this is Supergirl's episode of Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's episode 1. So this is a spoiler video, so you need to go away. And I think we should start with the most important thing first, because it's really important. They killed off Oliver Queen. I know! They killed off Oliver Queen. A bit of a shock. But you know what? This is Arrowverse. And nobody truly dies on Arrowverse. I mean, even the producers make jokes about it, right? So if you noticed, was it Earth 46 or 2046 with old Oliver Queen, right? You noticed the expression on his face when the portal was just about to go. I'm going to bet you all the tea in bloody China that he's jumped in that portal. He will have to form a relationship with Earth 1, Oliver's daughter. He'll have to have relationships with his other, cohorts as well, and there'll be some development there. Ultimately, he will be the one to find Felicity, and he will be the Oliver Queen in Earth 1. Now, this is interesting. I don't know how they're going to deal with this, because obviously, I don't think they're going to kill old Oliver off, by the way. I think he's going to recur. Stephen Amell has talked about maybe him recurring in Arrowverse TV shows in the future as well. Listen, I wasn't happy with the cancellation of Arrow. I was disgusted. I think it's political. I think gender politics has played a big role here, and I'm very disappointed about that. But hey, they've cancelled the show. I don't think it's the show that should have been cancelled when you've got shows like Legends of Tomorrow. underperforming. But never mind, it is what it is. And obviously, the Batwoman situation is there. We'll see how they're going to get on with that as well. Batwoman was pretty good, pretty funny in this episode. I think she worked. I thought the Kate Kane character kind of worked. I like the little dynamic between her and Ray. So that was pretty awesome as well. I thought Sarah Lance was really good as well. I thought her, the stuff she had with old Oliver was really awesome as well. Oliver played a big role. Don't forget, this is Supergirl's episode. We had Alex and Lena. That was my worst kind of dynamic of the episode, because something's going to be going on there, right? Obviously, there's some sexual tension there. So I'm not one for the romance and the sexual tension. If I want to see sexual tension, I will watch an adult movie. Anyway, so yeah, my least favourite part of it, I thought Mel Benoist was absolutely phenomenal. She's such a good actor. She really is. They don't give her enough material to show what she really is. When they give her something to do, she's so convincing and so fabulous. But Tyler Hoechlin and the lady who plays Lois Lane, I think they're great. But I thought Tyler really felt like Superman. The regret he feels because he sent his son away. How, he blames himself for this whole thing. He thought he could live a normal life on Argo City, and he thought he could leave the Cape behind. And I think a lot of this is going to spill over to the Superman TV show, the Superman and Lois TV show. And obviously, the baby Jonathan Kent, who is his and Lois's baby, that's a whole thing in the comics. And, that Superboy character is pretty interesting. I would imagine that he's going to age pretty quickly as well, so they'll do lots of things with him. He may even get a spin-off show himself one day. So I'm excited. At long last, we're getting a fully fledged Superman show, which is really exciting. I liked the scene with Kara and Kal, Superman and Supergirl. I thought that really worked for me as well. I thought the episode was very, very well done. And then Lila going around as this, I forgot what they're calling her now, but basically she's going around summoning everyone because it's time. And it really, and then we saw Erica Durance as Kara's mother. Now this is a big one for Erica Durance, because not only has she played Kara's mother in episode 1 of Crisis, she's going to play what she did on Smallville, Lois Lane. So apparently I've heard tomorrow Tom Welling will appear as Smallville's Clark Kent, and Erica will appear as Lois Lane. And apparently she's going to be in more than one episode. I think Tom's really just doing a cameo. I don't expect to see much of him, but who knows? Look, you're looking at a massive Smallville fan, a Smallville obsessive for 10 years. Smallville was my whole life. It's interesting. Someone asked me, are you really pumped seeing you're such a big Smallville fan? And to be honest with you, I've always been a bit wary, because as I've said to you, I walked away from Arrowverse because I did feel very hurt by the direction they were going in after a fabulous and iconic first 2 seasons for Arrow and The Flash. I'm worried they're going to ruin that Clark. I have heard rumours that he's not Superman anymore. He decides to be with Lois, and it's a crummy excuse for Superman to give up being Superman because he wants to be with Lois Lane. Now, I understand the Earth 2 Superman, or whatever he is, Supergirl Superman, going to Argo with his baby, and, Lois, that kind of makes more sense. He just wants to bring up a family. I get it. It's a selfish thing for Superman to do, so I'm still not exactly comfortable with that, but I understand it a lot more than Smallville's Clark Kent going, I'm not going to be Superman anymore. And it's all about Tom Welling not wanting to wear the costume. So many things happened in this episode. It was so good. The battle sequences with the alien invaders. I thought we could have had more with John Jones. He just seems to be a cameo character now. That's disappointing. Martian Manhunter is a massive character in the comics, and he's taken a step back, really. Brainy, I'm not a particularly big fan of Brainy. I mean, I like the iconic evil Brainiac, to be honest with you. I just don't get much out of that character, to be honest. The actor does a really good job. I'll give him that. So I'm not really a big fan, but I think we've got a lot to look forward to this week. As I say, not the biggest fan of Arrowverse in the past few years, but as I said, if you're a DC fan, you've just got to be watching this. You don't have to follow the other episodes or the other seasons. It just works. Now, I'm lucky. I watched the first, I'd say 3 or 4 years of Arrow, couple of years of Supergirl, the Flash, So I kind of know these characters a little bit, and you read so much on the internet. There's no kind of mystique there. But I think even as a DC fan, look, you've got Superman, Supergirl, Arrow, the Flash, it's all there. It's obvious. It's all self-explained. It's television for idiots, if you like, and that's not me putting it down. Yet it's not complicated, basically. There's very little development there, and there's very little development needed. But it is really good. There's some really brilliant scenes there. I think this episode really, really worked. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I want to know what you think. And remind me of some things that I missed, because I know I've missed so much. And this is the problem. I'd have to watch that episode about 30 times to actually remember everything that happened. But basically, what I would say is this, that Stephen Amell will be back in the next episode, I'm certain of it, as Old Oliver. So Old Oliver will replace one Oliver. It's interesting. Obviously, Oliver's daughter's going to take over. We've got this spin-off happening. I think, though, I do suspect that, and this is kind of a controversial thing to say, maybe Old Oliver will be part of this Arrow spin-off where it will be about his daughter, but he'll be there. Maybe Stephen won't be in every episode, but I do believe that he will be part of the spin-off. And I think that's important, even if Felicity could be involved in that sometimes as well, and the other characters, because I'm assuming they're not just going to kill all the Arrow characters off. So I'm very interested. I don't think that show can be carried with that flash forward cast. It just can't. I just don't think it can work. So you would need some of the Arrow characters. To me, it looks like a rebranding. For me, this Arrow spin-off looks like a rebranding than a proper spin-off, which has nothing to do with the other characters. I think, Amell's going to be involved and everybody else now and again as well, just to keep that show going. And this is how these things work. But let me know down in the comments what you think. Are you devastated by Earth 1 Oliver's death? Do you think old Oliver jumped into the portal like I did? Comment down below, like, share and subscribe. And don't forget, it's back tomorrow, part 2, and I can't wait to see it, and I'll do a reaction vid as well. See you tomorrow.